Hey everyone, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. We are the Pod Sound School, and we're here to spend the next 45 minutes with you talking about editing podcasts as a business or becoming a
Yes,
freelancer.
and we're actually I asked Veronica to join sort of last minute. So she's here. She doesn't really know what presentation I had planned. So there's going to be a certain level of improv to it. Looks like there's 6 of you here already. I'd really love to get to know you and talk with you and kind of see where you're at and what part of podcast editing, what stage in the whole process you're at. To start off with, please introduce yourself. Tell us where you're joining from. And also, have you thought about editing podcasts? Is it something that you've given thought to? Let us know. We've got Purple Moon Beats. How's
Hey
it
there.
going? And yeah, so we're talking all about how to charge premium rates. We're talking about how you can make bank as a podcast editor. That's really sort of the focus. And what kind of inspired this presentation for me, why I wanted to come on here, is Veronica has been encouraging me to show up on Saturdays to kind of do editing workshops. And I was working with students in our Podcast EditLab, this recent cohort, and they just are becoming more and more excited about the potential that they have as editors, in particular how to make like really good rates and how to really make themselves indisposable to clients, and that clients will pay them top dollar, and once they get a hold of an editor like that, they just won't let go of them. So what are your thoughts on that, Veronica?
Yes, I think sometimes as an editor, it's not a matter of you having the skills or you being able to perform the work that your clients require from you. Is you have the skills, you have the know-how, but you don't know how to educate your clients. You don't know how to educate your prospects so they understand the work that you do and why you're charging the prices that you're charging. And that's something that you should be relentless about. And that's something that you should be talking about on your social media or on any channel that you are using to promote your business as a freelancer. And that's to educate your audience about what you do, about the value that you provide.
Mm-hmm.
Become repetitive, become like that Latina mom that is always after you, telling you to do the dishes, and she's relentless and she's been doing it for years.
This is
I
good.
want you to channel that Latina mom energy and really educate your clients about the value that you provide, because
Mm-hmm.
there's this misconception out there that podcast editors just remove unwanted filler words and
Mm-hmm.
that they can be replaced by AI, and this is not true. It is not true.
Yeah, and we're going to get into the weeds with that, very specific with the actual steps or the actual process that you can take to charge premium rates and to make
Mm-hmm.
really good money. We'll even talk about specific dollar amounts. We're going to just, not hold anything back. And I really just want to start that conversation together with you here. It looks like Purple Moon is joining from North Carolina.
Hey there.
We're in North Carolina too. And
It's
also,
getting humid.
it
Today
is.
it's a humid day here in North
We
Carolina.
have Ash Nicole, a podcast host, and starting to edit her own podcast.
Hey
Cool.
there.
Well, that's great, and
That's
you're in
awesome.
the right place for that too. We have lots of resources for podcast editing, um, and I think that podcasters and podcast hosts who edit their own podcast are really good candidates to become podcast editors professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that can support your own show. You learn how to do it, so the skill set's like an obvious connection. But then also it's something that you can kind of supplement your income so that you can put more money into your own show and maybe just kind of grow in the industry more.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a perfect fit. But and we have our Rye 1010 tuning in from Las Vegas. How's it going?
Hey.
So before we get going, I wanted to ask, and I thought, my
Oh,
mic seems off
thank you
level.
so much. That's a question that we were going to ask you of
Check.
how we're sounding.
Yeah, we were going to ask
We
you how we're
had some
sounding.
issues before
We've had
with
some
our
issues
audio.
before here, and we didn't have the appropriate amount of time to do a sound check. So is my sound better now, or do you really only hear Veronica? So that's the case. There's a button I can press that things will get
Hey,
better.
Anthony from Minnesota, and also I'm very interested in becoming an editor, and I'm excited to learn.
That's
Awesome.
great. That's great. So before we get going, I wanted to ask, one, if you can hear my voice. I think he says got it. So
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Let us know if you can, if the sound is good throughout this. And two, I want to know how much, everyone there watching right now, how much do you think that a standard podcast editor would charge per episode? Maybe how much would you pay? And let's talk about like real rates, like how much are people actually charging for podcast episodes right now? And then maybe in that whole idea too, we could talk about,
Drop the numbers. Come on.
yeah. What are the numbers? How much do you think they're charging?
Yes.
So that we can kind of talk about this and just talk about currently right now as we're talking how much.
Yeah.
We're kind of a little bit ahead of you in time. We do have another podcast host from Dalton, Georgia, and we sound great now. Okay,
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. So you could go to Fiverr right now, and maybe that's where, and you could also go to Upwork. Maybe like $50, Purple Moon says. That's good. Anyone else? Any other ideas we have? If you go to Fiverr, that's where you will find a lot of the $50 range, like Purple Moon Beats just mentioned. But what I really love is even on Fiverr, you're starting to see people take themselves understand their real value and charge a lot more than that. And so even on Fiverr has been notorious for being a cheap place to go find cheap work. That's why they call it a Fiverr. Like you have an extra $5. That's how they even got
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
how
I
they
didn't
got the
know
name. Yeah, so I mean,
I thought
even on the low cost, cheap platform that is Fiverr, you're still seeing people charge upwards of $200 per episode or more. Same with Upwork. If you go to Upwork, you will find people that are charging, $50. You'll see even now as low as $25. $100. Yes. $100 is probably, I would say, more of the common going rate that most people can maybe kind of agree on. If you go to Upwork right now, you're going to see the same kind of thing. It's going to be a little above Fiverr. Both of those are cool marketplaces, though. If you're a brand new editor, you should take advantage of those marketplaces for sure. And we have, differing views and strategies with both of those platforms. But basically, I wanted to bring that up because I think that, there's this misconception that many of us have, maybe if we're considering editing podcasts, that we're only going to be able to make $50 an episode. And then we start thinking, well, how many hours is it going to take me to edit one episode? And before you know it, it doesn't sound like that good of a gig after a while. I think that might discourage a lot of people from getting started, which is really actually very sad because there's a huge marketplace for people that are willing to pay a lot of money per episode. We're talking $400, $500 an episode easily from business owners, production companies, people who have money to invest in their show. And what you could say, Veronica doesn't like it when I say serious podcasters.
Yeah, like we're all serious. It's not like, no, we're not serious. We're just podcasting for.
What I mean, though, is podcasters who have a budget and podcasters whose show is supporting something else a lot of times.
Yeah.
And who out there, how many of us are big podcast fans? Does anyone listen to podcasts like Diary of a CEO or Huberman Lab, those huge podcasts? Those podcasts in particular are really driving the trend of podcasting even more and really creating a situation where every business owner wants to have a podcast. And then there's this other kind of trending term that we're all talking about right now, which is content marketing. And that's Veronica's jam. She's the content marketing expert.
Yes, definitely. I am.
And
I am indeed. So to add to that, you have to pay attention, or you have to be very mindful of the kind of clients that you are targeting your services to, because you find that there are people who would have free time because they're just starting and they don't mind editing their own podcast, and they don't mind to spend 6 hours or 8 hours editing one episode because they have more time than money. And those are the people that you are not going to talk into hiring you because they don't have the resources And like I said, they have the resources, but they have more time than money to outsource the editing. The type of clients that you want to be seeking are those who don't have the time, but have the money, the disposable cash to bring people to their teams, to outsource their editing so they can focus on other things that matter to them. It's not that the podcast doesn't matter to them, is that they are business owners who are after clients, who have other priorities, but they need a podcast so they can have some form of inbound marketing for their business. So those are the type of clients that I want you to focus on, because I think what I see is podcast editors getting frustrated because they are not getting the clients, because they are targeting a market that is not, it doesn't respond to their marketing tactics. It doesn't respond to the message that they're sharing. So be mindful of that. It's not that you are not valuable as a podcast editor. It's not that your skills are not in demand. Is that you are reaching out to people that are not interested in what you have to offer, and that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, I love that a lot too. And we're going to break that down into more like...
I'm taking over.
Yes, and we're going to touch on that. So basically, let's get into the process that it actually...
Give me coffee.
That is actually involved in...
Don't spill it.
I did spill.
Oh, here you can.
Thank you. Well, no, you got to keep that on because we have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
I can
a
bring
little
some.
coffee on the table is not a big deal.
I'll bring something. I'll be right back.
Okay, so I'm gonna go out of focus when she leaves. There we go, and we've got some thumbs ups going on because I made a thumbs up. It also seems to have frozen. Oh, there we go. So if I come over here into her spot. This is what happens when somebody tries to steal your coffee live. You spill it all over the place, and things go crazy and out of focus, and then you wind up using bandanas to clean up the coffee.
There.
Yeah, we could.
There you go. We're back.
Yeah, we're back. Wonderful. Okay, and then we'll use the remainder of the handkerchief to wipe the nervous sweat off of the forehead. So now we're back.
Ugh.
You steal the coffee, and then you insult the flavor of the coffee.
It's so gross.
Who put sugar in their coffee? That's what I want to know. It gets in the way of the real ingredients we're after.
Okay.
Okay, so what we're going to talk about is the actual process that goes into, and don't touch my coffee anymore.
No, I won't. But I have water.
That goes into editing or becoming a sought-after editor. And, you know, excuse the debacle there with the coffee, but that's what going live gets you. You get a little more unscripted.
You're just sitting here with us. We're having a chat.
We're having a chat,
This is
but we also
informal.
appreciate your time, and we want to get there. We want to get there, and I want to give you some nuggets of wisdom here. So the first one is to make yourself stand out. You're going to want to have a portfolio to begin with, and this could work for people right out of the gates too. So you can charge a lot of money for editing podcasts right out of the gates. You don't have to have a lot of experience. You just have to have a portfolio, a good online presence. You could even say a diverse online presence, as well as a website. And websites can be created very easily. They can actually be created relatively free. And, you know, if you want to get your own URL for maybe a name you create for your podcast editing company, or if it's your own personal name, you might want to get a URL for that. All of these things are going to make you stand out as a professional, and people are going to want to see something and hear something before they sign up for your services. But there's something that I really love about this portfolio option here too. And this is also something I was just talking to our students about, and part of what inspired this presentation is that a portfolio piece, a well planned out portfolio piece, can actually be an upsell tactic. It can actually be a piece of marketing material, because a lot of times podcasters can't really visualize what could be done with their show. We work with a lot of clients who come to us to do like podcast makeovers, and they need ideas for, you know, maybe it's segments or maybe a podcast episode intro, ways that they can hook in new listeners right from the beginning. All sorts of like fun, fancy bells and whistles that a really talented editor can pull off. And so if you make your portfolio pieces kind of stand out in that way, and that's something we do inside of our editing program, then they actually say, ooh, I love what you did in that portfolio. Is that something you can do for me? And here's where you get into establishing more of a diverse set of skills, or this is where you would diversify your offerings or build more skill sets. And so as we're building skill sets, this kind of comes naturally when you become a podcast editor. But if it's something you know before going into it, then it's something you can prepare for, which when you look at podcast editing, it's a lot more than you would think. So we think, okay, well, I imagine podcast editing is cleaning up the ums and the uhs. And it's like, maybe adding some compression and some EQ and noise reduction and those kind of things that if you're versed in those kind of things that we do as a podcast editor. But it's a lot more than that. And it can be a lot more than that because you're holding the files. A lot of times you're doing file management of your clients, and then you're processing it into a finished file that you're going to deliver back to the client again. So the client very often is going to say, hey, while you're at it, can you publish that to my podcast hosting platform or my hosting site for me? That's an administrative task. And a lot of editors will just be like, yeah, I'll do that for you. And they don't charge any extra for it. And they don't package that up as if it is something different. So if you create packages, you create add-ons for these diverse offerings and these skill sets that you build, suddenly you go from charging a base rate for your basic editing, and then you have all of these different add-ons that your clients are going to ask for. So one add-on, for example, or one skill set you would do would be the administrative stuff. So after I'm done with editing your podcast episode, I can write your show notes for you. I can generate a transcript. I'll make sure that the transcript goes onto the platforms and is hosted where it should be. I'll write the show notes. I'll come up with a catchy title, and I will upload it and schedule it on your podcast hosting site for you. And Veronica and I both, as business owners, can speak to the value that creates. And if somebody were to say, okay, I'm going to charge you, and we agreed that $100 is sort of a flat rate right now, right? Even though that's not what we think $150 is as low as any podcast editor should go for your basic editing pack. So somebody's going to charge me $150 to edit a podcast episode. I've listened to their portfolio. I know they do good work. I know it's going to sound good. I know they're going to use noise reduction. They tell me that they listen to every word of the episode, so I know they take it seriously. Then they're going to tell me, offer just this one administrative pack. Like I'm going to do that posting and that publishing for you. They could charge me another $50, another $100. And as a business owner, I'd be like, yes, please. Then I just don't even have to worry about it. And that's just one thing. Then there's also graphic design becomes kind of a natural place that you go into where you're building more skills that you're stacking on top of that initial skill of podcast editing. So I'll make a unique podcast episode cover for you. And, if you share a picture of your guest, I'll make sure that each cover has a picture of your guest and it's this unique episode cover. Well, then, it doesn't take very long to continue along this path, right? To figure out more things that you might offer a podcast host. I mean, we have podcast hosts here. What are kind of things that you do every week as part of your podcast, right? Well, you snip them up into little pieces and separate them and create audiograms or little vertical videos that you like to share on social media. Ooh, you could charge a client easily, minimum $50 per one of those short videos. And, Gary V's pumping up my head right now that I need to be putting 5 videos on TikTok every week or every day. So I'll pay you for 5 of those. Let's just consider another $150 per episode. So that way I can get 5 vertical videos. So now what started at $150 an episode is now to an extra $50 to do the admin stuff, to publish it for me, to write show notes, to come up with a catchy title, and maybe even to cross-reference that title with SEO. That sounds really fancy and amazing. I'll easily pay $50 for that. So now it's $200. Now you're going to give me 5 vertical short videos that I can publish. That's 200. What is that? So the 350. So now you're making $350 per episode, and you're doing so in a way that's very intelligent in terms of your workflow, because you're already in there editing the episode. So it's relatively easy for you to just grab 5 clips of the highlights of that episode while you're in there editing. Anyway, and this goes on and on. We do, video podcast episodes are going to charge a little more than this. And then, of course, in your packages, you want to make sure to say things like this is, the file length. So this $150 per episode, but that's for a 45-minute episode. And the raw recordings can't be anything more than an hour. So there's any various numbers of ways that you could package yourself and create different packages. and add-ons, and by diversifying your skill set and stacking on skills, because as a podcast editor, we're often a lot more than just a podcast editor. We really, and it's funny, Veronica and I were talking about, we've been noticing like what people are really in business of. And when we were at the buying a new car, it was like, they're not really in the business of selling cars. They're in the business of selling loans and getting us to sign up for a loan. And they don't want you to pay for the car in cash. They want you to sign up for the loan, right? It's like a banking industry, really, more than anything. And so what are we in the business of as podcast editors? I don't think we're actually selling the physical, tedious task of editing word by word in an episode. I think we're selling two things, and it's status and also security. So I think they want to know that our clients want to know that their material, that their episodes that they put all this love into, that they're in good hands, that we're going to take care of them. We're going to listen to every word. We're going to see your vision. I'm going to make you sound more intelligible. I'm going to make sure that if you say something, out of character, that I snip that out of there. I'm going to make executive decisions on your behalf. And then also, you're going to sound really good. You're going to sound better than 99% of the podcasts out there, because that's the kind of sound quality that I achieve. And that's status, right? You're going to look good. You're going to sound good. And all of those things sort of, and this really gets into two really scary words. Let us know in the comments where you're at, what questions you have, if you're still hanging in there, how you felt about the whole coffee debacle. But here's two scary words that you might not want to hear. And I know that podcast editors might not want to hear these words. That's marketing and sales.
Yes.
But this is how you're going to make a lot more money and charge premium rates as an editor, no?
Yeah.
And that's where, Veronica comes in. We have an editing...
Spilling the coffee.
Spilling the coffee.
It was you.
Well, I spilled it, but then you stole it and you insulted the flavor of it. So with marketing and sales, this has everything to do with how you're going to make more money as an editor. Not just, and maybe the problem is too, like the prospecting aspect of it, right? I think that's really scary to us. A lot of people are very intimidated by the idea of selling, hopping on a sales call, or getting someone on a call. Like, how does that even happen? And so this is the area that you need to venture into to start thinking in terms of marketing and sales. And then the more YouTube videos, the more resources you can watch on marketing and sales, the better. There's a lot of really good resources, and Veronica has a ton of videos about this, a ton of resources about this too. So how can a podcast editor market themselves and sell themselves to people?
So I was getting into that a little bit, and how it's important to know who are your marketing to, who's your people, or your niche, for lack of a better word. But when you have these things defined, then it's easier for you to set your prices, and it will be easier for you to put your packages together. Like I said, if you are trying to target people who have more time than financial resources, then you're going to have a heck of a time trying to selling your editing services, or trying to get them sign up for a package, because they don't see the value in what you're offering because they have the time. But if you are marketing to people who don't have the time but have the financial resources, then those are really the kind of people that you want to be working with, and that will find your work as a podcast editor valuable. And that's one tip that I can give you right now. And then the other one is to pay attention where your leads are coming from, or where do you have to go and reach out and get your leads. Because it's not like you're going to put up your website and then magically you're going to start, people will start signing up for your services. There's got to be a way that you have to bring those leads into your offers, whether it's to creating a profile on Upwork, or whether it's to reaching out to podcasters using some kind of database where you have access to the email addresses, or websites, or any kind of information about podcast hosts that may be struggling with delegating editing to an editor that is competent and that have the skills required to do a good job. So you can do that too. You can create some kind of some form of inbound marketing, content marketing. That's going to be a little bit time consuming and is going to require strategy. But you can start on LinkedIn. You will find a lot of people on LinkedIn that it seems like everybody on LinkedIn now wants to have a podcast and wants to have a video podcast, because there's a lot of marketers on LinkedIn talking about the importance of content marketing and the importance of having this organic reach to an audience, being a complement to your ad campaigns and to your outbound marketing. So you can create a profile on LinkedIn and start talking about not your services, but educating your audience about what you have to offer as a podcast editor. The transformation, like what Stephen was saying, like the peace of mind, the knowing that your project is in capable and professional hands, always looking to improve your content and always looking to make you and your brand look good and sound good. So those are the kind of things that you should be looking for when it comes to getting clients. And when it comes to the sales process, just make sure that you have a process, because some people complain to me that they're not selling their services. And then when I go see what they're not doing much. There's not a way to find them. They don't have an offer, or they don't. Like, here's my money. Like, can you take my money? Now, do you have a way to take my money? Do you have a Stripe account, a PayPal account? Do you have an offer?
A Venmo.
A Venmo.
It could be anything, yeah.
Do you have a place online, a website, where a landing page where I can see the services that you offer, where I can take a look at your portfolio? Where can I punch my credit card numbers? So those things that
or a booking calendar like Calendly, where I can set up a meeting with you.
Yes.
Right off the bat, if somebody shows interest, you send them, DM them, text them, email them that link so they can go to a calendar and get them on a meeting.
Yes.
You got to get them into a meeting so you can talk with them and learn about their show.
So there are all these different strategies that you can use to immediately start making more money as a podcast editor, and also just have clients.
I love
clients.
I love what you said about make sure you have a process.
Yeah,
because it is funny.
It can be easy. It can be just
and the process very much should be very strategic and very you got to stay faithful with it, and that is prospecting, right? And in sales, they talk about prospecting. One of my favorite sales books is by Jeb Blount, Sales EQ. It's a really good read if you kind of need just crash course in sales, and he talks about the golden prospecting hour. And during that hour, you don't do anything else but prospect. So you come up with a number that's comfortable to you. I'm going to reach out to 5 people today. I'm going to do 25 proposals, and you could be on Upwork, you can be on Fiverr, and you can start there. You could decide that that's your main thing, and you could just be an Upwork editor and make very good money on Upwork as well. Some people start on Upwork to get their initial client base, and to also get their feet wet and to get some good portfolio projects. We recommend that too. Just grab whatever project you can at first when you're first out of the gates as an editor. But what's cool is as you gain confidence is really all it is. As you gain confidence, then you really have the luxury of seeking out which clients you want to work with. And then sales becomes less scary, because you get on a sales call and you realize I'm actually prospecting them. Like I'm deciding whether or not I want to work on their podcast. Takes a lot of the pressure off. And then you're just having a conversation. You just get somebody in a call and you just say, hey, tell me about your show. What are your goals that you have? And just really listen and really evaluate. And on the sales call, and we have a podcast episode, Veronica interviewed Katie Hoagland, who's a sales expert. And you got to listen to that podcast episode if you haven't yet. It's like, I can't even believe it. It's like a crash course going to sales school. That's on our Content Hefe podcast. And that's what it's all about, is the sales call and being comfortable with the sales call. And I think a lot of times when we're creative professionals, we just want to be creative. We want to edit things. We want to add music and sound effects and add our production value and our creative sense to things, right? And so the best way that I've found myself, to get over that is to look at the business side of things as a creative pursuit too, and to look at it. How can I be creative in my sales calls? How can I, stand out and have fun when I'm connecting with people? So that's a lot. And
We have some comments.
we have some comments. Good. This comment, let's start here with the stupendous Chumley. I hope you're still hanging out with us. This has a lot to do with time management, which is when you get into doing business for yourself, this is the big thing. And this is huge. This is a big struggle of podcast editors. And that's to have so many projects coming in all at the same time that, you might not be able to actually physically have the time. There's some cool techniques here that I really love. You'll see this right now. If you go to Fiverr, you'll see people taking advantage of this. And Fiverr's cool for this reason because it's built into the interface. They can actually add an extra if you want to reduce the amount of time. So you can do 24-hour turnaround time if your client is short on the day they're supposed to give you their files, but it's going to cost them an extra $100. So you might actually encourage your clients to be late, right? Because you make an extra.
Let them be late.
Let them be late a little bit. This is trial and error. You got to find out what works for you. My big suggestion here is try so hard to be assertive and just understand that you're an expert and have that confidence in yourself. And just, this is where it's really nice to have not only a process as far as your sales process, like when you're reaching out to your clients, but also to have a back end process or a business process where, an onboarding process, you would call it, where you introduce your new clients to how you work. And they have to work on your terms because it's your editing business. You want to be able to meet them where they're at, but you're going to be doing them a disservice if you just bend over backwards for every single client. You need to tell them, I do 72-hour turnaround time. That's my standard rate. You get 3 days. Your files need to be where they're supposed to be, or, you're going to have to pay me more for a quicker turnaround time. And that's just business as usual. And that's kind of how you get around that. There's obvious different circumstances, and, we're famous for giving our editors stuff last minute, and we pay them the extra fees for that too. And it's just, it happens, right? A lot of your clients are going to be busy. And that's kind of the dance. And sometimes you will cram and you'll have to cram, but that's also the luxury. There's the pros and cons. You get the luxury of being able to work on your terms when you want from anywhere in the world, just having a laptop,
But you also have to become a people person.
You have to become a people person. You have to keep in contact with your clients too. You also want to be client centric. You want to keep those clients happy. Let's see. We also have, don't try too hard. Good clients are easy to get. And if you have to try too hard to get a client, yes, I agree with that too.
Yes.
Should come with
Absolutely.
a relative ease.
Yes, it's because they're not ready for the commitment. And then, the worst thing that can happen is that they will sign up and then they will ghost you.
Yeah.
Or you are spending your time and energy on something that is just not going to, that interaction is not going to turn that person into a client. So you need to be mindful and smart on when you spend your energy.
Yeah. And LinkedIn works well for lead generation, especially if you're looking for business owners who have podcasts. Yes. LinkedIn's great for that. And then Luigi says again, recommendations. That's like a gate in order to get good clients. Let others. Yes. And actually this is another comment I was going to say is, how can you build in referrals and talking triggers? I like to, I always use the example of the DoubleTree cookies or the strawberry or chocolate covered strawberries on the pillows at the Hilton hotels. I don't know if they do that anymore. And also I don't think the DoubleTree cookie is quite what it used to be either. But every DoubleTree hotel,
you get lucky if they clean your room.
Yeah. Now the hotel service isn't what it was. But every DoubleTree hotel, they had this oven, and you go into the hotel and then they pull out this fresh cookies, and then, and then anytime anybody's talking about DoubleTree Hotel, they light up, oh, did you have those cookies? And, I remember as a kid going into the Hilton Hotel and there was these chocolate covered strawberries on the pillow, and it just made you feel like royalty. It was like that extra touch, and it was like an extra $5. So the idea is how can you build in talking triggers into your services? How can you be or give your clients that chocolate covered strawberry? What's that extra touch? For a podcast editor, I always recommend custom tutorial videos for them, really being invested in their setup and their sound, in their giving them extra resources. And here's where you can get creative. But also building in referrals is a really powerful way. So a lot of people ask us, like, should I work pro bono? I need to get confidence. Should I do a couple episodes for free? It's pretty common for brand new editors to like do I'm a brand new editor campaign. I'll edit your first episode for free, and then you'll pay me if you like it afterwards. I really recommend avoiding that, because I don't think you should ever do anything for free. It's not the right place to start off. But, and also I would probably recommend to avoid discounts if possible, because it also it kind of hurts your value, I think, in your business if you offer discounts, because it shows that there's room for negotiation in a way. And so it's because it really is all about the value, the way that you perceive your own value. But if you're going to do a discount, one of my favorites is the referral discount, or the built-in referral discount, where you say, hey, I'll give you a certain percentage off each episode if I can put a little ad in there, or if you can record a little ad for your listeners saying, hey, and so-and-so edited, my editor's awesome, and they created this episode. If you're interested in an editor, go to blah, blah, blah. And everyone will do that for you because they love you, because you're their editor, and they want to keep you because you're the best editor they've ever found. And so they'll absolutely do that. And that's all of your referrals will come in that way. When I was editing professionally, all of my work came that way. And it was, who edits your podcast? This guy. And that's how it was. And so I never had to touch Upwork or Fiverr or anything like that. And so there's a million different ways that you can get clients. And there's so many people looking to get into this huge new realm of podcasting, video podcasting, content marketing. And a podcast is absolutely the most strategically arguably best type of content you could make in terms of the biggest bang for your buck content marketing wise. And I think a lot of marketers would agree with that statement, because it gives you the best kind of content to repurpose. You can repurpose it into blog posts and emails and vertical video clips, and it can be on Spotify for podcasters and YouTube and all of the podcast directories, all just with 1 hour a week that the host has to spend, and then they send their files to an amazing editor. So those are my thoughts there with referrals. So thanks for bringing that up, Luigi. And first one can be paid with a client review before handing over the podcast. Not a bad deal. Yeah. So I like all these suggestions, Luigi.
Yeah.
And,
thank you.
Thank you. So this is good. That's basically what it is it's articulating your value, finding ways to stand out with your own value, and stacking skill sets to provide packages. And if you have a base level pack and you say, I edit podcasts, $150 per episode, it includes this, this, and this, and this. And then you have other options, 95% of your clients are going to choose the other options too. We all do. We all tack on at least a few things. And then the other thing I know is to have a chef's table type thing, right? So have a really expensive pack, and charge more than you feel comfortable with, because then you're telling people like, wow. And they're going to, we actually, as consumers, we think of things in terms of how much they cost. The cost of something is how we perceive its value. I really don't think Louis Vuitton purses are much better than the purses you get at Target. I really don't. I've been looking at them because Veronica's she has to have her Louis Vuitton purse. What's the difference? It's just leather. One of them's more expensive, And so we want you to be the Louis Vuitton of podcast editors, because you can be. And it just so happens that when you do charge more, you get clients who are more serious. And again, Veronica doesn't like that, but you get clients who are more serious. They're going to be in it committed. They're going to be in it for the long run. They're not going to pod fade as often. And they're going to treat you better. And I think the biggest benefit is that their content's going to be more interesting. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be two dudes sitting around drinking beer talking about their favorite movies, because that stuff will make you want to shoot yourself in the head if you're editing those kind of podcasts every week. You can find podcasts to edit that are so unique and interesting and that you learn from. And now you're actually getting that benefit from it as well too, that not only are you working on your own terms, but you're also like learning really cool things. You could tell I'm very passionate about this, and I could just talk forever about it. So that's it. What other questions do we have as far as podcast editing before we leave, or really anything while you have us here? Luigi says, I work
on retainer for a package that's around $2,000 per month. I love that. I'll service them just with about 30% from what they can ask me for.
That's cool.
I love that, Luigi. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think you're just a very good example of somebody who is targeting to the right market, and also somebody who knows how to articulate his or her value, and also somebody who knows how to do good work.
Yes.
You have everything.
And with that, we will end with an invitation for our next group cohort, which starts on Monday. And we're doing our first evening class. We just started a cohort in February, but by demand, we had to do an evening class for March. So we're doing a March cohort for the Podcast EditLab. Have you all heard about the Podcast EditLab out there? Have you considered it? It's the only podcast editing certification program in the industry. And we train the best editors in the industry. We train editors who are these kind of editors that once a client gets a hold of, they can't let go of them, and they pay them more than they would pay anybody else. And that's because we focus on client centricity. We also have an extremely efficient learning program and philosophy that we do in there. It's a group coaching program, and we teach it together, because I teach you how to edit proficiently at very fast and at the highest level of professionalism. And then Veronica teaches you how to market, put proposals together, reach out to clients, where the clients are at, and all of the stuff that goes into actually building a business. And it's a coaching program. So it's 12 weeks, and it's guaranteed that you'll have your first client by the end of 12 weeks. So it's something that is only available by application. And to apply, you can just go to podcastingsmart.com/editlab and apply. And like I said, hurry up and get into our Monday evening cohort that starts this Monday. Likely it's going to be Wednesday around 7 p.m. Eastern, but that's not in ink yet, because we wait until the cart closes and we have everyone's enrolled, and then we decide as a group which specific time is going to be best for everyone. It's usually Wednesday or Thursday. And this time it's going to be in the evening, which I'm excited for. And yeah, do you have anything to say about the Edit Lab?
Do you want to talk about the things that you cover inside the Edit Lab?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. Like I said, it's basically an audio engineering program. You come out of it as if like an audio engineer. We go into, and this has been a lifetime passion for me, teaching audio production. And so it's something that, from my own experience of education, you get so much theoretical education when you go to like traditional schools. Audio engineering school, for example, like Full Sail University or the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences in Arizona, both of those will give you a head full of theory, a ton of it, and you'll know everything there is to know about audio production. But when then it actually comes to turning around and getting involved in the creator economy and finding clients and everything, then you still have to find somebody like Veronica to teach you about actually how to get clients and client management and all the business. And most of the theory you learn, you never put to practice. So what we've done is streamline the whole process, and we're really only teaching things as they apply to podcast editing and video editing as well. But it's important to understand and fully comprehend some of the theory so that moving forward, you can troubleshoot, you can get the best possible audio in any situation. And so we cover all that stuff, and we go into what really matters in terms of the tools that we use as editors, and we future-proof our work as well. You know, with all these new things, all these new AI programs coming out, we have to be ready and comprehend everything in order to adapt and move. And so we really teach our editors not to be, we call it program dependent on any one app. We teach you to be more open and adaptable to any app. The two main programs that we teach in the course right now are Reaper and Descript, and really cool programs. But then we also cover what is really going on, and that's audio processing as well, that can be used in any program. And for that, we use Waves plugins, which are, Waves is an amazing company. They've been around since the 90s, and they have classic plugins that sound so delicious and juicy. And the plugins that Waves has, they actually sound better than the plugins that you'll find that come built in with DAWs like Pro Tools, Reaper, and Adobe Audition. They just sound better. They just have a little bit more love put into them maybe, but they definitely have a superior performance. So we get into all that stuff. And by the end of it, you have a full, complete comprehension of compression, EQ, noise reduction, de-essing, time-based effects like reverb and delay, as well as timeline editing, transcript editing, repurposing, podcast-specific video editing. I mean, it's pretty incredible what we cover in 12 weeks. One of our students from our previous cohort, I love it because she said it was from zero to portfolio and flushed out website. She just couldn't believe it. Like, and being able to knowing everything that she knows and being able to offer all the services that she offers. So yeah, there's more information. We're always here to answer your questions. We can answer your questions after you apply too. There's an application process. And happy to get on a call and talk with you about the program as well too, as we continue to release cohorts. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's important for us that we only enroll people who are a good fit for our program. That's why we are doing it by application only. Not everybody can join, because we want them to have a basic understanding of certain things.
Yes.
And also make sure that they really want to work in the industry as a podcast editor, because that's the value that the program provides, and that's how they're going to get the return on their investment when they start rolling clients even before they finish the program.
Yeah, versus maybe someone who might really just be interested in becoming a pro to edit their own podcast. Mm-hmm. There's not as much direct ROI in that for the editor. So that's not the program that it is. It is a program for people who want to work in the creator economy. And, it's just an entry point. You may decide after you've worked as an editor for a couple of years that you'll probably gravitate towards something else, or towards building your own agency or hiring people to come on to work underneath you. What starts as podcast editing may change and evolve into something completely different. It's just a really cool entry point into this exciting creator economy. So yeah, and we're just so happy with our program. We're having so much fun with it. Mm-hmm. So, and yeah, we're here to answer any questions that you have. And I hope that you enjoyed this.
Do you want to share how they can apply?
Yeah, you just go to podcastingsmart.com. I can put it here, /EditLab.
And we're also going to leave the link in the description of this live stream.
Yeah, we will. EditLab.
We appreciate your time. Thank you for spending Saturday with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. And last Saturday, if you remember, I actually hopped in and we did some editing. I might do that again on Saturdays. I'm thinking about popping in and doing some editing workshops. I know that Angel just asked, what's your favorite editing tools? That's something that we could talk about. And I could share and actually get into in future lives. So make sure you subscribe here, or that you keep in touch, and we'll do that. We're kind of out of time for today to get into the editing tools. But this is super fun. Thank you so much, everyone. And apply. Join us on this Monday, 12 weeks from now. You're going to be making bank as a podcast editor and feeling really confident in a new skill set. It's a really incredible opportunity right now to become a certified podcast editor. So we hope to see you there. Okay, see ya.
Bye.